Hit the like button, y'all. 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 You know what I'm saying? We getting ready here. We getting ready. Everything's going on. Everything's going down. Let's get this started. So we wanna make sure we got everything going on and happening. Okay. Yo, what's up, everybody? What's good? What's going down? We are back. We are live. Let me make sure that I got everything that I need here. And, just want to set up a couple things as we are, live and in full effect here on November 10th, 2024. And we, definitely looking forward to talking about what has gone down here in the scene of boxing. Oh my goodness, man. I'm still, trying to, figure out how I'm still able to, basically be somewhat coherent. Um, it was a very busy weekend, just going from, driving down to Norfolk on Friday, was able to drive down Norfolk on Friday and be able to get to Philadelphia on Saturday and now back on home base right here, so that is something that, we got to, I'm just trying to collect myself and all that. And get things going, get things flowing, get the blood pumping or whatever it is, get the blood flowing because we got a number of things here that we're going to be talking about in this particular podcast. You have, of course, what happened in Norfolk, Virginia, and also in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to be breaking that down here. First wanted to get into what's been going down in Philadelphia, then over in Norfolk, and then it should be around, I would say, maybe around 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see if we have some things going as far as like the chats and whatnot. If folks want to go ahead and speak their piece on what's been going on with the fights, so the thing about it is that we had what had been going down over in Philadelphia. Of course, you had the headlining bout there for the IBF welterweight title, Jerron Boots Ennis versus Karen Chikadzian. It was, yes, a rematch of what happened in January of 2023, right? And what happened over there in the at the Verizon Center or whatnot in Washington, D.C. You had a sweeping decision victory for Jerron Boots Ennis on that. And the thing about it is that a number of people, expected Jerron Boots Ennis to go in there in January of 2023 and get a knockout against Karen Chikadzian. I mean, he, is the one that, had all the, the notoriety, accolades here and there when it came to, his overall skill set and what he had been able to do up to that particular point. But Karen Chikadzian, at that particular time, gave him a different look, something that he was not quite familiar with. And with that being said, seeing him, kind of like struggle in a sense in trying to cut the ring off, make Chikadzian pay for moving around the ring here and there. And, with that being said, you had a number of fans that were there that were, kind of disappointed in what happened, right? So now here we are, fast forward over in November 9th. And, this is something that, well, okay, you had Boots Ennis. Now he's the IBF champion. Had a homecoming fight of sorts there at his last bout against, David of Asian. Was able to get a stoppage win there. And so, now he's, kind of like building off that momentum and getting back in the thick of things. So now you have what's going on with Karen Chikazian, who, was the number one, I guess, contender in the IBF. Defeated Harry Scarf in order to get to that particular position. So that's why he ended up being the IBF mandatory and why that was ordered, right? So with that being said, what it basically happened was you had Boots Ennis now talking about, okay, now that I had this rematch, I'm going to do what I didn't do the last time, and that is stop Karen Chikazian. Well, you saw what happened. Okay. And I mean, I'll just put it out there as far as like how I was reacting live during the fight. You see the first question. Was Boots disappointing? Well, in my eyes, he was. Because I expected, more from him, at this particular juncture. That he would be, more in tune with everything that, he is able to do as far as like his skill set is concerned, So I felt like he would be able to hone that all in, utilize all his entire skill set, and be able to do that here against Karen Chikazian. But there were a number of different things, number of different elements there that, said like, hey, that didn't quite happen. And I was disappointed in that on two different fronts. Okay. One front, yes, Chikazian was doing something different in this fight than in the first fight. In the first fight, he was moving around the ring a lot, wasn't very active offensively, and wasn't very engaging as far as like being active with the punches or, being in close quarters or whatnot. In this particular fight, you've seen a completely different Chikazian that was, I would say, fairly efficient, fairly sharp, and was able to land some good punches and had great timing on a number of occasions there against Boots Ennis. And for me, I think that seeing that, kind of like made me like, whoa, hold on. Can we pump the brakes here a little bit when it comes to Boots Ennis as far as like him being a completely, a complete fighter? Okay. And, what I saw was like, okay, if you are going to have instances where you're slipping defensively and you're using athleticism in order to roll with punches or to dodge punches and things like that. But sometimes the timing is not quite there, or you're going up against a fighter that's able to, set up shots or bait you. You get caught. And in this particular fight, you've seen where Boots Ennis was getting caught. You've seen where Boots Ennis was getting caught. You've seen, where he was getting hit with, some right hooks You seen where he was getting hit with, lead left hands, and a number of times he was getting tagged with a jab too. Now, in some cases, you could say, hey, okay, he was able to take a number of those shots. He has a good beard. He has a good chin, right? But in various instances, it just seemed like he wasn't very sharp or upright when it comes to being able to throw things, and be able to kind of like say, for example, he's a guy that switches from orthodox to southpaw. So if you're going to be throwing out the jab up, pull back, jab up, pull back, right? Instead of jab up, hand down, jab up, hand down. Because if you do a jab up, hand down, or do a jab up, hand down, and try to come around with the right, depending on your reach, depending on your speed, your opponent could pretty much time that and be like, you know what? If I'm defensively sound when it comes to, okay, if Boots is if he's going at me with the 1-2 with the left and the right, all I got to do is go ahead and basically eat the jab and try to just formulate in with the right hand. And depending on how powerful my right hand is, and if I'm able to get enough of it, then it's going to land very well on Boots Ennis. So that's the thing about it, is that if you're not necessarily out there, at least when you're orthodox, and you have your left hand with the jab, left hand going up with the jab and then pulling back, and you're not pulling back high enough to where, okay, if my opponent is going to be countering with the right hand, I got to have my left hand back if I'm going to throw any type of right hand, because it's going to be right hand versus right hand. And what I saw was that Boots Ennis was having his lead hand down, and it reminded me at times of Roy Jones Jr. Yeah, Roy Jones Jr. was probably the most athletic fighter out in the sport that we've seen. Okay, reflexes, speed, reflexes, all that type of stuff was just like out of this world within his era. But there were times where you kind of like seen him get caught a few times, even around the top of his game, against fighters that didn't necessarily have the speed or pretty much up there with the skill, but the technique was there. As long as you had good technique, you could catch guys that are faster than you, or whatever. And by the time Roy Jones got to a certain point, whether it's the Tarver fight, the first Tarver fight for one, and especially the second Tarver fight, you've seen those deficiencies when it came to keeping the arms up or keeping the guard up, or at least with that knockdown that happened, that he didn't keep his right hand up, and then he got basically clipped with the left. Here with John Boots Ennis against Karen Chikazi, and you've seen that happen on multiple occasions, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, this is not something that I would kind of like see there from Boots Ennis. And so what we ended up getting was times where a number of fans were like, whoa, what's going on here? And that was something that I kind of like was like, nah, that don't look right. That don't look right. Right. And then you had the other thing here where I didn't see a dedicated attack to the body, at least after the third round. Now, we saw what happened in round 5. You saw Boots eventually break down Chikazian, punch with pressure, sharp, powerful, just coming in there with pressure and was able to, have Chikazian down on one knee. Actually, that was a good move by Chikazian because there were a number of shots that he was taking there. Eventually had him hurt. And then he ended up getting down to one knee to where, the point where it wasn't, too much punishment at that particular point. So Kieran went down to one knee there at that point in round 5. And then when you saw that, you saw Boots Ennis in a celebratory mode. He's like, okay, yeah, I got him. But then after that particular point, right, you seen Boots Ennis kind of not be able to properly break down Kerry Chikazian and score another knockdown. Yeah, there was a whole lot of holding there from Chikazian over the course of that, portion. He ended up getting a point taken away. Should have got taken away a long time before it happened. It actually didn't happen until the 10th round. But even with that being said, what I saw from Boots Ennis in this particular fight was smothered action. And a number of folks know about one of my favorite fighters, few years back, had retired a few years back or whatever it is, multi-time welterweight champion, Showtime Shawn Porter. And one of the major critiques there for Shawn Porter was that he smothered a lot of his work. And that, he was like a, roughhousing type fighter and everything like that, but smothered a lot of his work. But sometimes that was the most effective thing for him to do. Here with Boots Ennis, he's supposed to be a guy that mixes up, boxing with brawling, with fighting and all that type of stuff. And what I saw after the knockdown was scored was someone in Boots that didn't properly know how to break down and stop an opponent, at least with Chikazian, right? Now, maybe Chikazian is, a fighter that, can, know what to do when they're in trouble. Yes, I did ask about, the level of toughness that Chikazian had after that knockdown to, Juan Boots Ennis, and he pretty much said, you know what, it's basically on me. I didn't properly do what I needed to do in order to, break him down, in order to stop him at that point. And, that was, that's been a major critique. And, from that 5th round up into the 8th round or so, that's when I was like very frustrated on seeing what Boots was doing, because every time that Boots had landed a good shot on Kieran Chikazian, he didn't properly follow up, and he either had himself smothered himself and got into a tie-up with Kieran Chikazian, or allowed Chikazian to grab him. That's number one. And number two, he was head hunting. He was throwing hooks a lot, upstairs. Nothing to the body. I didn't really see anything to the body after getting something upstairs, because at least for me, if you want to go ahead and try to, get a guy out of there, and you see that it's not happening by landing, big shots upstairs, you got to go to the body. You need more variety. You got to set up, either the stab jab or be able to, just get him to the body so that he has multiple things to think about on defense. Like, if he has his guard up, upwards towards his head and his face, he can do that if you're not going to the body. But if you have a dedicated attack to the body also upstairs, then it's like, okay, where am I going to go with my defense next? He basically made it almost like a one-dimensional type thing. So I was, really disappointed in that on that front. And you kind of seeing the frustration there in Boots Ennis with the amount of holding that was going on, from that 5th, 6th round on. And the thing about it is like, yo, just get out of that, be able to work around that, make them pay for trying to, grab you, and get back and get to the body. Especially when, Karen Chikazian was on the ropes, like, get your distance, throw the jab, or throw it to the body, or set up something upstairs, and then follow through with the hook to the body and make him drop his guard a little bit. That's number one. Number two thing was that I saw was that you've seen Boots try to land a counter uppercut, whether it's counter right uppercut or counter left uppercut. You've seen that happen multiple times. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why are you going with that same counter shot? Like, that's something, if you see that he's not necessarily going down or being hurt enough there from the counter uppercut, switch it up. Either go to the body, hook to the body, or hook upstairs or something. And I've seen something that, with Boots said this. I mean, he's now 33-0. Okay, 33-0. So he's had 33 professional fights. And up until that particular point in 33 professional fights, you would think that you would have the tools or something to where you could be more, I would say, be more efficient, number one, when you have a fighter in trouble, and be more versatile. I felt like, Boots is like a very, very athletic fighter and be very talented. And he has that versatility in him, but it's like when he has a fighter in trouble, or at least here in this particular case against Karen Chikazian, when he had Chikazian in trouble, he did the same thing each time and didn't switch it up. And so that's why you pretty much seen the same thing happen over and over and over again in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th rounds. And after the 10th round, you've seen there where, he was very frustrated. The fans of the Wells Fargo Center were frustrated. They were kind of disappointed in what was going on. They thought, he would be able to finish Chikazian, at least at that particular point. And then by the time the end of the 10th round happened, yes, you saw people, starting to say, you know what, this is likely going to be going to full 12. I don't really need to be here, for, the full 12. Let me go ahead and, I guess, try to, beat traffic or whatever it is. You feel me? So saw a number of the fans, exiting the arena and that type of stuff. Yeah, it almost was like, the whole thing with Asher Gordon Nafisa, he's Stevenson. Yes, I do say the full name when I bring him up. But, that was something that, at least live, it was surprising to see. Shout out L Dub in the building. Y'all check out L Dub boxing on YouTube real quick. You know what I'm saying? He be the plug, the boxing plug. You see, that's what it says right there, boxing plug. All right. So seeing the fans leaving was something there that, I wouldn't have expected, but given what was happening, that's something there that kind of like what was getting me. And then, 11th and 12th round happened, and you pretty much had the same thing going. And so it ended up being a decision. Yeah, you had Boots Ennis winning. You had, Boots getting 119, 107 score on one scorecard, 117, 109 on another, and a 116, 110 on another. So 116, 112, you had 2 points taken away from Chikazian, basically. So you had like an 8 rounds of 4 from Steve Weisfeld, basically. What is this? 117, 109. That's like a 9 rounds of 3. Shout out Ron in the building. Ron, Ron, they're out at Fighter IQ. You check out, Ron over there, Fighter IQ. He was, out there and about there in in Norfolk. I don't know if he made it. I don't think he made it out to Philly, man, but he was out there in Norfolk. We we'll talk about those fights in Norfolk here in a bit. But yeah, man, big ups to you, man. Good to see you out there, man. Yeah, shout out to the backfield for not showing the fans leaving, unlike what Top Rank did to Shakur. I don't know. Maybe if it was Boots in his last fight under Matthew boxing, I don't know if he would have done it. Oh man. Yeah, man. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, he drove home at Norfolk, man. Then changed his mind morning up. Hey, I feel you. It's a little drive, going from Norfolk over to our area, man, the DMV area. Depending on when you leave Norfolk, traffic could be crazy. If you do it, like, for example, if you did it like right after the fight, that would be no problem. But if you did it like during the morning, or try to leave in the morning like I did, and yeah, that's some problems. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, going back to this thing with Boots and Karen rematch, 119, 107, it would have been 119, 109. So that's 11 rounds for one. So yeah, it was a big decision victory there for Boots Ennis. But man, that one really got me, man. Rod says, after seeing the fight, I'm glad I didn't give my Philly credentials. Well, I'll put it this way though. It would have been really good if Boots was able to stop him. Because with me, my thing about having fight cards is if you started at a certain time, I'm looking for you to end it around a certain time. So by the time you had the main card start at around like 7 o'clock Eastern time, going to the main event was like you had Boots Ennis walking out at about 10:45 Eastern time. And I told my one of the bros out there the topic that I said, hey, if they get Boots walking out here about 10:45, yo, we could have this thing, done within like, 11:30, because I'm, at that time I'm still expecting a knockout stoppage victory from Boots Ennis. But it went that full 12 rounds. So y'all see what happened. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the 64 gets crazy. You don't leave early. Well, yeah, in a sense, at times it does, but you got the whole thing with, how the lanes switch up. You be having like 2 lanes, and then you get around, Newport News, Hampton. It'll give like 4 lanes, and then go back to 2 lanes before you get to 290 something or whatever it is, before you get to 95 going north. So, but at least from that particular point, it was all good. It was just when I got to 95, getting close to, of course, Arlington, Alexandria, and you get out there by Quantico and freaking Woodbridge. That's stupid. It was stupid. But I'll talk about that also here a little bit later. But yeah, back on the joint there with the main event there. Boots. I mean, I was really disappointed. I talked with a few people after the fight in reference to, what I was talking about with Boots Ennis and him not being able to properly break down Kieran Chikazian after Chikazian was in trouble on multiple occasions. There, at least, from that 5th round when he scored a knockdown. And then after that, other times where he, was able to hurt Chikazian, when he wasn't able to score another knockdown after that. And for me, I had graded this performance. I had a conversation with one of the brothers out there from Four Corners Boxing, and I went as low as saying a D grade, because of the deficiencies I saw on defense, of course, and also the deficiencies that I saw on offense. Now, okay, maybe folks could say, hey, Kieran Chikazian is a fighter that is not like many of the fighters there in the welterweight division. Like Karen Chikazian isn't like a Mario Barrios. Karen Chikazian isn't like a Brian Norman Jr. Karen Chikazian isn't like an Iamana Stanionis. Hold up though. Iamana Stanionis. But hold on, I'll hold off on that one. But the thing about it is that when you had the thing about it with Boots is I expected him to stop him. Yeah, I mean, nah, dude. Like I'm saying, cash out. I see you like a C plus, but the thing about it is like you're talking about a Boots sentence that, like I said, going into the fight, 32-0, 29 wins by way of knockout, right? And in the last two bouts, right after he had that first bout with Chikadze, you saw his performance there against Roman Villa. How would you grade that performance against Roman Villa and what he was able to do against Roman Villa? Yeah, that was what we expect from him, right? Yeah, cool. Then you had the fight against David Evangian. Okay, he was originally scheduled to face Cody Crowley. Cody Crowley gets scratched out. Now he faces David Evangian. David Evangian, you've seen a couple of things there in that particular fight where Evangian was able to land shots on him. And the thing about it is like you would think with a fight of Evangian's level, and you have those expectations of Boots Ennis, that you would say, you know what, David Evangian shouldn't really be in the ring with him for not that long at all. Yeah, he was able to dispatch of Evangian within 5 rounds. Okay, cool. But you seen what Boots was saying after the fight against David Evangian, that, a couple of times he was saying like, hey, wasn't sharp on offense, wasn't sharp on defense. So I attribute that to inactivity in the ring because he had that extended time out of the ring, right? Pretty much was a year's time, 12 months. So he said, hey, got a plan. We got to get back in the ring. You heard what Eddie Hearn said after that fight. Have something slated for him in November. Okay, cool. So y'all know Boots. He a gym rat. After that, he'd be back in the gym. They get something secured for him. Yeah, it's not Mario Barrios. Yeah, it's not Brian Norman Jr. Yeah, it's not multiple guys within 154. Because, yes, there were multiple offers for fighters at 154 pounds that turned it down, Keith Heidick. Oops, did I say that? Okay. And, yeah, they turned it down. So that is why you ended up having this fight against Chikazian in the first place, because a number of fighters turned down the bout with Juan Boots Ennis in Philadelphia. But with that being said, still got to be able to take care of business. And it's like my guy, on Brunch Boxing says, there, Matt, if you have a guy in the ring that ain't supposed to be in the ring with you, you got to get him out of there. And that's the thing with Karen Chikazian. I mean, you look at Chikazian's like record and all that type of stuff. I mean, outside of that victory against Harry Scarf, right, that he had in his last bout, what could you say is a notable victory for him? I don't know. Who is it? I'm looking over here at the rec. Pietro Rossetti or Blake Minnow or Roberto Ariaza. Like a lot of his fights is over there in Germany, so I'm like, I don't know. But we know, like, from a skill level perspective, Boots Ennis is worlds over Karen Chikazian. He should be. So you got to be able to take care of business. Cash Out, shout out Cash Out. He says, like, what? A lot of dudes at 147 will lose to Karen. Boots could have done things better, but D is crazy. Okay. Here's the thing with Karen Chikazian, right? All right. So I'm going to pull up Let me see if I'll see if I can pull up. Let me see if I go into the thing here where I see your screen. Yeah, I should be able to do that, man. Also, I may open the phone lines here in a bit. If anyone wants to chime in on at least here with the Boots performance, they're able to chime in. We're gonna see if we can open the phone lines on that. But let me see if I could get these things as far as like the rankings are concerned. I don't know if they're gonna be able to have welterweight at least here for top 10, right? Karen Chikadze is not in the top 10 in the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board. Okay. Uh, on Ring Magazine, well, we can't find out what's going on in Ring Magazine. I forgot. Yeah, Ring Magazine has just been acquired by Turkey Al Sheikh. And as far as like the website goes, yeah, they ain't no website right now. It got like a holding page, so you can't even see the rankings there for Ring Magazine. So I'll go into the joint here for the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board. Let me see if I could go ahead and share that. Let's see here. All right, bet. So we're gonna do that. And we sharing this here real quick. So you got Boots there at number 1, Barrios at number 2, Norman Jr. at number 3, Sissoko at 4, Stanionis at 5, Santillan at 6, Rocha at 7, Giasov at 8, Benge at 9, and Sasaki at 10. I would say maybe out of those 10, well, I'd say 9, of course, because Boots beat him twice. Out of those 9, how many will you say that he beats? Out of those 9, let me see here. Let's see here how that works. Hold on. Let me get that up here real quick. I'll pull that up. Here we go. Like I said, Barrios, Norman, Sissoko, Stanionis, Santillan, Rocha, Giasov, and Bege Sasaki. So you got 9. How many fighters do you say that Karen Chikadze out of that list, who does he beat? So if you could say maybe more than 4 or even 4, I would say you have to name those 4. I might be able to give you 3. Out of that list, I might be able to give you 3. But 4, that might be stretching it. That might be stretching it. You feel me? That might be stretching it. Let me see here, man, because I might try this here, right? Let me see here what we got going on. Because I'm gonna see if I can open up them joints. 6. Wow. 6. Wow. Oh. to quote Dr. Umar. Ooh. 6. So you're saying that? Okay, like I said, I said Benge, Sasaki probably do. Giasov, maybe. Rocha, I don't know. Santillan, Stanionis, no, definitely not Stanionis. Sissoko, unknown. Norman, no. Barrios, no. Smack Like That was good with you. What's good with you? Seeing if I tried to catch up with you. I didn't know if you were able to make it to the Jeter Promotions card yesterday, so I had to see how that goes, man. Let me see here, man. I'm just gonna try to open up the phone lines here. Let me see here. if you could do this here, man. Let me try this out real fast. What we got? 301-715-8592. Yeah, there we go. Hold on. Let me go ahead and put that joint, man. Yeah, okay. You was at the Jeter fight. All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. And then you got the code right there. Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and put the code because I like if y'all have something on this thing here with Boots in this, man. I want to see if y'all could go ahead and chime in on that. So yeah, let me see here if this thing here will work or whatnot. Hopefully you got that, but if not, I'm gonna try something else too because I want to go ahead and say, yo, let's see here if this will work. Yeah, I got that too, man. Let me see what's going on with that. Hold up. I don't want this thing to. Yeah, that thing says murders Alia. Nah. We talking about Boots versus Karen, man. What's happening, man? What's happening with this thing, man? Yeah. First off, let's do that. All right, bet. So y'all see the phone lines there. Hold on a second. Let me try this also too, man. Go ahead and hit that code, and then we'll see here if y'all be able to chime in on what's going down, or at least here with that particular fight. You know what I'm saying? So y'all got the access code too also. So if y'all wanted to go ahead and call in, we're gonna see here if that'll go ahead and work, man. Y'all, hey, I know y'all have reactions to what's going down, but hey, y'all want to go ahead and chime in, you do that. You feel me? He said, hey, Boots didn't do well against a guy when they fought in DC. He won, but it wasn't exciting. I mean, hey, there you go, man. There you go. All right, let me get back here to this full screen or whatnot. All right. So now we got to see what's going on here next for Jerome Boots Ennis. Y'all saw the post-fight presser. You have Blair the Flair Cobbs, talk about he wanted to put his name on the head. We talked about that for a little bit, after the press conference. But Eddie Hearn, has plans for Boots Ennis. One is, trying to go after Iamana Stanionis. He pretty much say, hey, if he's out there, let's go. Unification, let's go. What's happening? Let's make it happen. The other thing, of course, is with Virgil Ortiz, that had been, kind of like hinted out there, at least, through War Week Boxing, through Joseph Heron. We talked about that last week. That, potential card out there for Riyadh season, you would have Jerome Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz, and another fight that was proposed out there that I'll talk about here in a bit, that involved a fighter that was in the co-feature over there in Philadelphia. But, with that being said, man, I mean, I want to see when Boots' next fight is going to be. Because, after this, I want to see, how he does against a number of these other fighters. I heard what he said after the fight. I know that. But in some cases, you got to show it. And number of folks that, were, out there with me watching the fight, they were like surprised and disappointed as well. And, what was going on out there as far as like, he wanted to go ahead and face Terrence Crawford and other fighters there 154 and everything like that. That particular performance had a number of people having doubts of him. I mean, that's just what I was hearing. So his next bout is really going to be like, okay, where is he at now at this particular point of his career? Is he, able to, kind of like get to the heights that people expect him to get to? Or has he reached pretty much the level where he's at. Maybe it's the opponent. Maybe it's the opponent because I said it before. Karen Chikazian ain't like these other fighters. A number of these other fighters have been brought up as potential opponents for Juan Boots Ennis. Mentioned Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios don't move around the ring like that. But I will say this about Mario Barrios, right? Mario Barrios is out there as pretty much the tallest fighter out there, 6 feet, around 6 feet, 6'1", reach of 71. In comparison to Boots Ennis, who's out there like 5'10", So thing about it is that with Mario Barrios' height and stuff like that, maybe that could, have him be able to gauge distance and everything like that from a different level. But outside of that, I kind of see that maybe we have something else as far as like what we could see there from Juan Boots Ennis in his next bout, whether it's against Mario Barrios, Iman Stanionis, or against Virgil Ortiz Jr. Now, the thing with Virgil Ortiz Jr. is Jr. also had a bout where he struggled there on August 10th against Sergey Boychuk. And, in that one, a number of folks have said like, hey, maybe Boychuk could have, pulled out that fight with a win, but didn't quite happen. So a number of people want to see where Virgil Ortiz is at. So I say, hey, if you could have a number of fights that kind of like are barometers for fighters, whether they're at around 13-0, 14-0, or 10-0 and 8-0, or whatever it is, why not go ahead and have these two fight? And yeah, it could be at 154. Yeah, we've been waiting to see it at 147. Can't get it at 147. So let's have it at 154. Let's go ahead and have it at 154, right? So there you go. I say go ahead and have that particular fight at 154 pounds between Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz Jr. But we got to see what's up with Turkey LLC. If he got the funds and he said, hey, I'll put up this amount of money for that particular fight, and if both sides agree to it, then there you go. You're gonna have a fight. But like I said in reference to what's going down overall with Boots Ennis, at least from this particular fight, that's something there where I'd say, hey, still some things that I feel like he has to work on. What's going on? Thomas Hill on the live chat there, what I'm saying, on YouTube, man. Shout out Josh Boxing Talk, Thomas Hill in the building. Let's talk about Boots Ennis and his performance against Karen Chikazian in comparison to, what happened in the first fight. Like I said, he was able to score a knockdown in the 5th round. Karen kind of like switched things up as far as like what he was doing from a defensive perspective, but from an offensive perspective, yes, he was much more active in this fight than he was in the first fight. And with that being said, we've seen a number of things there from a defensive perspective from Boots Ennis that were like, ooh, I don't know. Rely more on reflexes and, actually hand guard technique, catch and slip, that type of thing. You've seen it a couple times, but not enough. And then he was, I felt like he was predictable with the counter uppercuts. That's what he was looking for. That's what he was going to try to trap Chikazian with. But if it doesn't work, you got to do something else. He didn't do something else, at least at that particular point, at least to me. But I feel like we'll see something different there from Boots Ennis in his next fight because, from a style perspective, he's not going to see someone like a Karen Chikazian, again. Like Stanionis isn't like that. He's more of a guy that he doesn't move around like Chikazian does. But he has that type of pedigree where he could tactically move around, so that could be another interesting fight there if Boots Ennis stays at 147 pounds. But he was kind of talking about, yeah, he was able to make, under 147 comfortably for this fight. But as far as like continuing to do that, yeah, we don't know. We don't know. Right. So that's what I had there for that particular bout there. Just chopping it up there for a good 50 minutes, man. I still got what was going on in the undercard, particularly the co-feature bout that had a fighter that is on the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10, and Jesse Bam Rodriguez is, he was able to go up against Pedro Guevara. And, in that one, I was like, you know what? Bam Rodriguez is going to be able to do whatever he wants to do against Pedro Guevara. We've seen what happened earlier this year with Bam Rodriguez against Juan Francisco Estrada. That was a great bout for about 3 or 4 rounds before Bam Rodriguez took over and just, wasted Estrada, right? And that's what, had him get to the point of number 5 in the pound for pound top 10. Now he goes up against Pedro Guevara to defend that WBC super flyweight title. And man, that fight didn't last that long at all, man. Bam Rodriguez dominated, was able to score, knockdown first in round 3, and Guevara got up, and then you had like another uppercut that landed there from Bam Rodriguez while he was backed up to the ropes and put down Guevara like down in a heap or whatever it is, and Guevara didn't get up. Third round TKO victory for Jesse Bam Rodriguez to defend that WBC super flyweight title. Undefeated now at 21-0. Okay. And a number of folks, have been, seeing here that putting Bam Rodriguez on this card was kind of like something to get him out there over to the East Coast and kind of like marketing him to the East Coast. And he had some, good reception out there. Good reception and everything. That's cool. But after this particular fight, I had told someone that I, have be a co-host with. I said, you know what? It's about that time once again for Jesse Bam Rodriguez to headline a bout in San Antonio. Last time he did that was in the Techport Arena in 2022 against Rizaketso Rungvisai. But now we gotta see him, out there, over in San Antonio once again. I mean, you probably could put it in a larger venue this time around. He's able to, go over to the Footprint Center. He had him in Arizona a couple times, or you also had the whole thing with Boeing Center at Techport. Like, no. Go ahead and have it at what's the arena there for the Spurs, man? These basketball arenas be changing like every 5 years. Put it in there, and he'll have that thing sold out. You get him in there, you could find an opponent, because I know that they're trying to set up something with Bam Rodriguez in February as well. But if that don't go through, have him over there in San Antonio, right? Have him headlining another bout in San Antonio, and that's the thing that I would kind of like say, have them host their fight, the Frostbank Center. What the heck? Oh, geez, the Frost. What the heck is a Frostbank Center, man? Like, come on. All I know is like the AT&T Center or whatever it is. Or like, man, I'm telling you, they be changing these arena names like 5 times, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, just have Bam Rodriguez host, a fight card there over at the Frostbank Center in San Antonio He'll pack the place and everything like that. But the thing is, as also mentioned there when I talked about Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz Jr., right? You could also have Bam Rodriguez versus Ramon Chocolatito Gonzalez on the same card. And yeah, they're trying to see if they can have it over in Saudi Arabia for Riyadh season. I'm like, come on, at least have like if you're gonna have like a Riyadh season card and have something like that happen, go ahead and have it here in the U.S. We saw what happened over in L.A. You know, we had Terrence Crawford there. You know, and I'm sorry, but that here's the point. I felt like we, even though the card was kind of packed, that main event was like, folks weren't feeling the main event like that. They weren't feeling the main event like that. You know, like it's on my dream of like, come on. So why not have this whole thing here with Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz and have Chocolatito Gonzalez and Bam Rodriguez and put it there at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas? That thing will sell out. Y'all heard it from me. I say it sells out. All right. So don't have it over there in Saudi Arabia. Have it over here, you know, in T-Mobile over in Las Vegas, and it'll sell out. You can have tickets at whatever it is. Ringside seats could be about $5,000, whatever it is. Folks will buy it. Okay. You can have nosebleed seats at about, I don't know, $150, $250, whatever it is. It don't matter. Folks will buy it. Feel me? It'll sell out. You had those two fights? Nah. Fight fans will be talking about that for days leading up into that fight date. So that's my suggestion. But having it over in Riyadh, like, nah, man, nah. We need to have a card of that magnitude in Las Vegas. But you know, it remains to be seen how that'll go. You know, it remains to be seen how that'll go, right? But you know, back to the thing there with Chocolatito Gonzalez. I mean, not Chocolatito, Bam Rodriguez, right? You know, he has that, you know, that WBC super flyweight title. You got Fernando Martinez, that's the unified champion there in that same weight class. So I'm saying, hey, you could also have that. You know, why not go ahead and have that? You know, where you could have, you know, Fernando Martinez there as unified champion. He was able to get that win over Kazuto Ioka, so I don't see why not. That could be the fight over in San Antonio. You bring Fernando Martinez there from Argentina out there for another road trip, this time going up against Bam Rodriguez. Have that unification fight. And then after that, you can go ahead and, you know, talk about Chocolatito. But have Bam Rodriguez unify the division. I say you could go ahead and do that. He would be highly favored to win the fight there against Fernando Martinez. So why not go ahead and have that happen at the whatever arena the Spurs call it or whatever it is? You know, I say that would happen, all right? But you know, outside of that, man, you know what we had also with the fight card, right? Of course, Boots Karen, you had the whole thing there. You had also Raymond Ford against Orlando Gonzalez. And, you know, this one here, this one is at the super featherweight division. Of course, Raymond Ford, former world champion at 126 pounds, you know, had that stoppage win over Otabek Kolmatov in Verona, New York, there in the last round. And then, you know, had the fight against Nick Ball where he lost by decision. Close decision. Some people felt like Raymond Ford won that particular fight against Nick Ball. But, you know, ended up being that Nick Ball got the nod in that particular bout. So Raymond Ford is coming off that loss, going up against Orlando Gonzalez. and nearly pitched a full shutout there against Orlando Gonzalez. Scored a knockdown, one knockdown there in the process. Yeah, it was almost like a clean sweep. He almost scored a clean sweep. One judge actually gave Orlando Gonzalez a round in that. But it was overall like a fairly solid performance by Raymond Ford, and him being there at 130 pounds. I say that was like a WBA, some version of the WBA title was on the line. Not the full title, of course, but something there where the winner would kind of like climb up the ranks there at 130 pounds, right? So with Raymond Ford winning, that puts him, way up there. Now, some people are suggesting that, hey, maybe that they could kind of like have him there against Lamont Roach Jr., who is the WBA champ. But I don't think that would happen there, right off the rip. You got like a number of fighters out there, like a Lee Wood. That could be a potential opponent there for Ray Ford. You got maybe what I would say. Who is this? Jonah Carroll still, they're contending. They're in the 130-pound division. You got Zelfa Barrett that's also out there, but a few solid fighters that are, right there around the rankings there at 130 pounds for the WBA. So we want to see what happens here next for Raymond Ford. I feel like he's very comfortable there at 130 pounds, much more comfortable there at 130 than he was at 126 in his last couple of fights. So we're definitely going to see him really do some things there at 130 pounds. He also had Khalil Cole against Manuel Gallegos. And last fight that Khalil Cole was on, he was able to get a stoppage victory there against Kwame Ritter. But here we have Manuel Gallegos, who had been coming from 168 to 175, had been out of the ring for over a year. His last bout was against the contender at super middleweight in Diego Pacheco, where he lost by TKO. Now goes up to 175. He's been at 175 a few times before, but this time going up against Khalil Cole, and a number of folks were expected Khalil Cole to get a big win here, but hey, Gallegos was walking through a number of them punches that were happening out there from Khalil Cole early, and then Gallegos broke him down, and then landed a serious body shot, like bam, left to the body, like pow, put down Khalil Cole. Crowd there in Philadelphia was like, oh no. Then Cole got up. He was landing some right hooks on Gallegos. Had staggered Gallegos a couple of times there, but with that, you seen Khalil Cole be very predictable with that right hook. And Gallegos seen that happening. He is able to properly block it or step away from it. And Khalil Cole, you can see that his condition was not good after that body shot put him down. And so with that, all you seen was Khalil Cole kind of like really exerting himself a lot, trying to land that big shot on Gallegos and seeing if that would be able to put Gallegos down so that Cole would be able to get back into it. But nope, that didn't happen. He ended up, being very exhausted, got knocked down once again, or pretty much got, was on one knee basically again. And after that, it was basically a wrap. After about, 7-8 rounds, you could see that Cole was basically done, and after, he was out there in the ring for the 9th round, was like a combination of punches there from Gallegos, forced the referee Eric Daly to stop the bout. So Gallegos, with the upset win, there over Khalil Cole, handing Cole his first professional loss. And so now it kind of like halts the momentum there for Khalil Cole because he was going in there as a light heavyweight contender. There he was what at in the WBC rankings. Just looking over here at 175. Let me see here. They kind of like had him what around like 17 or 18 or something like that. Yeah, I had to check that joint for sure. Hold on, yeah, because I felt like he would have been able to um, be there or at least in the top 20 in the WBC rankings or whatnot, right? But him having that like USA version of the title, he was there at number 25. He was number 25 in the WBC rankings before that bout there. And after, suffering this loss there, he's going to be being knocked down on the rankings there for probably about like 10 or so spots, maybe. So definite definite stop there in momentum for Khalil Cole, and we got to see here, what happens with him now. I kind of like heard a couple things has been going on with Khalil Cole, at least from before his last bout that he had over at Wells Fargo Center up to this particular point, and maybe he might have to clean a few things up here before he gets back in the ring for his next bout. But here, Gallegos just pretty much like outworked him and just wore him down, broke him down, and ended up stopping him. You also had Amo Williams getting back in the ring after his loss to Hamza Shiraz, getting a TKO victory against Young Garrido. Good for him. So he's gonna try to get back in the mix there in the middleweight division. Ismail Muhammad with a unanimous decision win over Nelson Morales. And you had Dennis Thompson getting a win over Edgar Ortiz Jr. by TKO. That was like the first bout on that matchroom card. And the second bout that was on the card was a pro debut of Zaka Moses going up against Michael Ruiz. Was able to get a clean sweep, 40-36 decision victory, unanimous decision victory over Michael Ruiz to go to 1-0. Hey, as you see there, man, the phone lines still open. For those that wanted to chime in. I mean, y'all had some. Y'all were talking about like in the chat. Y'all were talking about, hey, why are you giving Boots Ennis a D for his performance there against Karen Chikazian? I'm like, hey, I saw many deficiencies there from Boots Ennis that shouldn't be out there for a fighter that's at 33-0. So that's why I felt like it was a deep performance. It's not in comparison to, what he did against, like I said, against David Evangian, or, against Roman Villa. So, hey, we skipped church to do a live show. Hey, I don't know. Around my way, there ain't no night service. I mean, like, yo, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? There ain't no night service around here. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So you can't say that skip church, do a live show when around my area there ain't no night service. At least there's that. So I got you on that one. All right. So, but that what I did there, I just covered that whole card there in Philadelphia. Like I said, I mean, that was like about a 5.5 hour drive from Norfolk to Philadelphia. Me, stopping midway, for a little break or whatnot. Feel me? But yeah, like I said, Friday, that card over there in Norfolk, man, that was a scene, man. That was a scene. And hey, think about it. We almost didn't have it. We were like this close to not having the fight between Keyshawn Davis and Gustavo Lemos. Why? Because, well, of course, you see what happened there at the weigh-in on Thursday, day before the fight. You seen that Gustavo Lemos was way overweight, way overweight for this bout. You had like a WBC USA belt on the line. You had an Intercontinental belt on the line for the WBO. You had an IBF Intercontinental belt on the line. And at the time, at least there from Thursday, they were saying that this was an IBF eliminator. But with Gustavo Lemos weighing as high as he was there, that whole thing couldn't be on the line for Lemos. And then the whole thing with IBF eliminator, of course, IBF be IBFing. You got to have that 10-day. You have to have that 10-pound, weight restriction the night of the fight or the day of the fight. And so here for this one, Gustavo Lemos was just a little bit under that 10-pound rehydration. So he was under 145 pounds, but just barely. And I'm telling you, he had to really, really, I guess, get himself down to that particular weight, because after that happened, he was done, basically done, or whatever it was, right? But he was able to step out there for the fight against Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis, came out there, of course, his hometown crowd, all of the support there from his family. Of course, his brothers were part of the undercard. You had his sisters, singing the national anthem. Mother was, there ringside and all that. Stepping out there with Booker T. Washington high school marching band that was, pretty much about, I'd say about 5, 6, 7 minutes away from the Scope Arena. So that's the thing about it. He says Pastor Ezekiel will take. Hey man, he better have the book ready, man. I have to see what scriptures he's gonna read for tonight. I don't know, man. What's going on here? All right. Oh my goodness, what's going on here, man? But yeah, you had Keyshawn Davis. I felt like going off of his past couple of fights, his stoppage win over Jose Pedraza, in February, and then his performance against Miguel Madueno over in Newark in July. I felt like Keyshawn Davis had a good amount of momentum there in the lightweight division. So him having this bout against Gustavo Lemos, Lemos, had been at 140 pounds, faced Richardson Hitchens there, full 12 rounds against Richardson Hitchens. A number of folks felt like maybe Gustavo Lemos could have got that bout against Richardson Hitchens. So this is going to be something there where maybe you have another tough bout, for Keyshawn Davis. But Keyshawn Davis, he kind of showed how talented he is. Of course, he had the Olympic silver medal. Of course, losing to Andy Cruz, then the gold medal fight. But you seen like how talented Keyshawn Davis is, and I seen elements of him being able to properly gauge spacing between him and Lemos, being able to utilize his jab and use his reach without having Lemos really like get back to him a couple of times. And it was just a great overall performance. Keyshawn being able to drop Lemos 3 times there, man. I don't know, depending on the angle there, if you got ESPN Plus, depending on the angle, at least at that particular time, you might be able to see a familiar face, like out there in ringside or by the ring. I'll just say that. But that being said, hold on. What we got? Oh, right. Let me see here, man. I gotta see here if my guy is able to jump on here in a little bit, man. Hold on a second. Let me get this thing cracking. Let's see if my guy's on, man. Hold up a minute. Yo,
Yo,
yo, what up, man? This is Chef. What's
you hear
going
me?
on with you? Yeah.
Hey, so first of all, I'm glad I finally figured out how to get on this damn app.
Yeah, dude, man. Yeah, it's a little bit of an adjustment, man. A little bit of an adjustment. That's why I had the whole thing of back up with the Zoom joint. But that's why I say, like, if you're able to get on here, that's cool. If not, you get hit the numbers up and then see if you can call in. But you're able to get on through this, so glad you're able to join in, man. Let's just talk about the whole thing with Keyshawn versus Gustavo Lemos, and with Keyshawn being able to have that stellar performance there against Gustavo Lemos, again, the second round knockout, just wasted Gustavo Lemos there within 2 rounds. There, what did you think about that? There, if you're able to catch what went down with that.
Well, yeah. So first of all, I'll get to the fight in a minute, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I'm actually proud of Keyshawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because for I would say about 3, 4, 5 fights ago, he was just this loudmouth kid that was around Terrence Crawford, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get it. If you're not promoting yourself, then you're not doing nothing at all. It's always up to you to promote yourself and everything. We know that, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be sports, entertainment, or whatever, you got to make noise in order for
Work.
people to pay attention. So once the people do pay attention, are you performing? Are you doing exactly what you're saying that you're capable of in that regard? So fast forward to now, Keyshawn headline is on first headline is first event at home, right? And we do know that sometimes there's a haphazard for fighting at home. Uh, Locally, recently, Progress. He definitely didn't have a good fight at home. On the fight at home when Hearn gave that to him a few, I think last year.
Yeah.
But not only is he fighting at home, headlining, sold out the place, got his family on his actual brothers on the card, his family a part of the production, and one thing too, even last night, prior to the actual fight happening, he's wearing an earpiece, talking to the announcers, which you usually don't see,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm like, dude, you need to settle down. You got all the stuff going on around you, family and else, and part of the production. I get that, but take the earpiece out and concentrate on the task at hand. For one, the guy, Mister, I'm sure you cover talk about the weights, but
Yeah.
Mister Wade came in heavy,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much on purpose because he knew he just wanted to carry that strength going into the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but once you get into the fight, uh,
Mm-hmm.
he did great. He did great. He did great. And honestly, I knew Keyshawn had some pop. I probably didn't expect to get a second round knockout, and especially in regards to fighting someone that came in pretty much at junior middleweight in that regard, basically at 150,
One,
154 pounder.
like 147,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah. I didn't expect him to have that pop. I mean, the guy's been durable. He's a veteran, things like that. But just and like I said, he came in with that extra weight on him. He's because
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm going to be able to absorb whatever Keyshawn throws at him. But Keyshawn he showed patience, distance, command. I mean, as much as you can tell within a 2 round fight, he did what he had to do. I would say emphatically. So I'm actually proud of him and his progression at this point. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean that performance there that he had against Gustavo Lemos like has his stock like really up there at this particular point. I was gonna see if I could check what they had there for top rank as far as like his overall numbers. Um, and see what they have for like his highlights, at this particular point. So I'm gonna see, like what's going down with that because he had like as of right now, it's at 275,000 views as far as like the highlights there. So he's good. He's gaining some momentum, and I'm thinking that given what he's been able to do this year, that Top Rank is really looking to like invest in Keyshawn Davis, and that would be something because the person like shout out to my guy Latin, who had invited me to be out there in Norfolk for the fight card. He said like folks was really, really excited to see Keyshawn Davis come through and fight. And the thing is too, it's like, I mean, historically, Norfolk is a fight town. I mean, you had, one of the greatest fighters ever, out there in that area, Sweet Pea Whitaker, and it was like, hey, 30 years ago, you had Sweet Pea Whitaker defeat Buddy McGirt over in that same arena. So I guess that's why they had put it at the Scope Arena. But the demand for that fight, or that at least that fight card, was so high that they sold out that venue like real quick. Like they could have had it in a larger venue and could have still sold out. So I guess for nostalgic purposes they kept it over at the Scope Arena. But like the next time up, that they have something going down with Keyshawn Davis, that they're going to put it in a larger arena in that area. So,
And think about think about this too as well.
yeah,
So what's one of the fighters that left Top Rank 2 years ago? Crawford, right? They
uh,
built Crawford up into where's he from? Oklahoma, right?
Nebraska.
Nebraska. And sorry about my Midwest people, but they built him up into a place that's not typically known with boxing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and they built him up. They gave him local support for years and years, and still give him support back in Nebraska, right? And at
Mm-hmm.
this point, even though it was limited as far as the gates that could come out of that place, right?
Right.
But they built him
Right.
up. But now you fast forward now to a Keyshawn, who has a great following at this point, and now headline is his first fight. I do believe they said it was a seven figure gate, which is outstanding. And now, and that's once again, you have the history of boxing already in that town.
Yep.
And love or hate Top Rank, some of these guys know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if they, like I said, if he can do this again, and he said it himself on the broadcast, he sold out a venue against a veteran rugged guy without a real name.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if he's able to line up a title shot next year. How would that go for him? And that looks for continued success, which is what you want, right?
Right. Yep. Yep. And it looks like maybe this is possible that they may angle him for the bout against Dennis Berencic
Mm-hmm.
for the WBO title. And the reason why that's the case is because even though you had the whole thing with the IBF eliminator going into the bout, once you had him Keyshawn being announced as a winner, the most prominent like belt that they had him holding was the WBO. I mean, top rank, so had to be WBO anyway. You all know what the WBO stands for, but anyway, you had a representative. You had a representative from the WBO there in the ring with Keyshawn Davis. So, currently Keyshawn is like ranked number 2 in the WBO. Just below Ray Murtaya. Well, actually, he's at number 3 in the WBO, below Ray Murtaya and William Zepeda. And we all know like Zepeda is like off the fight elsewhere and the whole Riyadh season and all that type of stuff. And you got Ray Murtaya that's there at Top Rank, where we kind of like said, hey, y'all ain't gonna have Keyshawn versus Ray Murtaya? Okay, cool. Have Keyshawn fight Dennis Berencic. They'll probably have it at Vegas somewhere or something like that. And Keyshawn goes in there and does his thing, and if he's able to defeat Dennis Berencic, they say, "Hey, we'll have him back defending that title back in the Norfolk area." And if they have that happen, then they could have it at the biggest arena that's available in that area. That's gonna sell out so fast, you know. But yeah, I'm like, real proud of what he's been able to do, particularly this year with the 3 fights that he's had this year. So that was something. You know what I mean? Um, anything else there about Keyshawn there, real quick, before I move to like the co-feature and then the show stealer that went down.
Yeah, even just a minor aspect. I'm just a question for you. How
Mhm.
did you enjoy the band on his come out?
Yeah, I mean that was a great thing that happened out there with the Booker T. Washington man. Good that they was able to show out there. I'm glad that Keyshawn had been able to implement them on there. I'm not sure if he went to Booker T. Washington or not. Like I didn't know if that was the case. But at least you have a local band representing there to be featured on ESPN or ESPN Plus and that type of thing too. So they get that exposure as well. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So you also had there the co-feature about Troy the Transformer Isley against Tyler Howard. That was for a little version of a middleweight title there for the WBO. You had there Troy Isley that had been ranked in the WBO. They had him at like looks like number 10. And Tyler Howard that came in there with a record of 20-1. I thought that Howard had been floating in and out there within that 160-pound division. Kind of like built up his record a little bit there before losing to Ian Green in 2021, but had like a good little hiatus before getting back in the ring in 2023 before this bout against Troy Isley. And in that one, you had Troy Isley that had this unanimous decision victory. That last round was a little bit concerning there, getting caught with a good amount of shots. But at least from being out there in Norfolk, you know, having that type of action that was going on over the course of those rounds, a number of those fans were like kind of like disappointed in what was going on. And at least for on the Troy Isley's part, he was able to have that, great performance in March against Marcos Hernandez, ended up getting a stoppage in that one, and then had another, unanimous decision victory against Javier Martinez back in June. So, he's been, slowly building up there in the middleweight rankings. But here against Tyler Howard, I guess, maybe they had expectations that, Troy Isley would have been able to, score another stoppage victory at least in this one against Tyler Howard, but couldn't necessarily do it. But at least was able to win like all but one round on all three scorecards, and then one judge basically had it 98-92 there in favor of Troy Isley. So I mean we'll see like how they're going to be able to match Troy Isley up here in 2025. I think that's going to be very interesting here how they're going to do that there. So, like I said, I mean, he's there. Of course, he's part of that whole, clan as far as like the Virginia crew. He's from this area where I'm based in. So he's been out there working out with the Davis brothers and times with Shakur Stevenson and all that. So, I like to see if he'd be able to put together like the boxing skill with the power. But I will say this: while that fight was going on with Troy Isley, I was thinking about comparing him to somebody, and I'm like, you know what? He reminds me a little bit about a fighter that had been a multi-division world champion.
Don't tell me Jermaine Taylor. No, no.
No, 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 no,
Okay, just a second.
no, no,
I was at poor man's Jermaine Taylor. Poor man's.
no, 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 no. A fighter that had been able to maneuver, find ways to win, find ways to be able to outbox or out hustle their opponent. and he almost has like the same type of body or body type as Troy Isley.
Hmm.
But I couldn't necessarily say it. I was gonna tell it to somebody that I was there with in the group, but I couldn't necessarily say it because that person was sitting right in front of me. And yes, you're exactly right, L Dub. That is the fighter that he reminds me of. Exactly who he reminds me of. Ooh, yeah, hey, Saavedra, hey, I like that fight. I like that fight, L Dub. I like that fight. Troy Isley versus Idris Saavedra. I like that. You know, he said Tim Bradley had more dog. Like I haven't seen like Troy Isley really like be dealing with a good amount of adversity, or at least to the level that Trent Bradley has had over the course of his professional career, whether it was at 140 or 147. So I have to see what happens here later on down the line with Troy Isley. But yeah, a potential battle against between him and Idris Saavedra, yeah, that would be really interesting. You know, wait, Saavedra had. Oh yeah, he had that draw last month against Caesar Tapia. Yeah. So, oh yeah, that was part of that. Yeah, that was part of that Murder of Zoo card. Yeah. So, yeah, I remember that. That was that bout was crazy. That bout was crazy. I thought Savage would have been able to win that fight. That fight though, that Tapia Savage fight, that could be a candidate for fight of the year, but it might not get there. It might be honorable mention, but that fight had some good action on it though. But yeah, Saavedra versus Troy Isley, that would be something. I would like to see that fight. But yeah, that was my thing there with Troy Isley. Like I said, he had his fight there against Tyler Howard over at the Scope Arena, and was able to get a wide decision victory. But did show a little bit of slip ups there in that final round.
You said this is for the interim WO, right?
It wasn't the interim WBO. It was the hold on, let me go back. It was the NABO middleweight title.
Okay, so he's a step below before really contending. Then,
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
if you can quickly outline the top of 160. I know we got Adams out there once again, a favorite, personal favorite of mine. And what's my man's name that just fought in Australia? He has what, two of the three belts or three belts? What is it?
Two belts, but when you talking about Zanabek, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
two
yeah.
belts. Yeah, yeah. He fought on that No Limit. I keep saying No Limit Records, No Limit Promotions.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he was able to defend those belts there. I think it was against Andre Mikulovic. He does have that IBF and WBO title. You got Erislandy Lara, the American Dream, there with the WBA title. You got Hamza Shiraz that's been really doing his thing there in the middleweight division. There's a top rated contender. I'd be interested to see what happens with Shane Mosley Jr. I don't know if he's going to be a middleweight though. He might go up to super middleweight. Like who else is out there, man? I might have to pull up the rankings for TBRB once again, at least for that middleweight division to see what's going on with the top 10 overall, right? So you would have like somebody like, okay, you got Zanabek, you got Adames, you got Lara, Shiraz, Chris Eubank, Miriam Sultanov. Ooh, they got Kyron Davis there on the top 10 and number 8. I know that they have Kyron there, it with TGB and PBC. But what about a fight between Troy Isley and Kyron Davis?
Hmm, hmm.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting right there.
You mentioned Shearers, right? Isn't that the Arab guy, Egypt guy, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That guy's gonna be a force, probably right now.
Right now, I say he's a force. Right now, I say put Shiraz in the ring there against Zanabek. Right now, I
Yeah,
say it should happen.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and even with Riyadh season, the
Yeah.
fights that won't happen can happen now because of that money.
Right.
You know,
Yep. So I say, why not go ahead and have that happen? You feel me? So that's the current scope of the middleweight division, and with Troy Isley, he's there, still undefeated now, 14-0. Yeah, it'd be really interested to see what they how they match him up next.
and
We had a couple of those suggestions there. L Dub brought up Ennis Savage. Like I said, I mean, you got Kyron Davis possibly, but how that goes with like Top Rank and TGB. I don't think they can do that unless like you said, with the whole Riyadh season. But that one, I don't think they would kind of like go for that though.
I don't want to suggest any bias, but don't you think that side world want a world champion from their side? I personally, I know they would. In talking about in regards to Shearers,
Mm-hmm.
because he's from what Egypt? What's from Morocco? What is he?
Hold on.
I think it's Morocco. I think it is.
I mean, let me see this. Well, I mean, he might be, but he's basically born in the UK though.
Okay, okay, yeah,
So
but still, his roots is Arabic and everything. So,
yeah,
I mean, personally, I think they would like to have a champion from at one of their own. We know about our black champions.
yeah.
That's universal.
Right,
So,
right, right, right. So I'd like to see like how where they're gonna match up Shiraz next. But that's I think our guy Frank Warren, he would have to like push to see what's going on with Hamza Shiraz and Janabek. And I think with Janabek, he's had like a couple things going on with the promoters, with the top ranking another promoter too. So we got to see how that sorts itself out first before we have an idea of what Janabek's next fight will be. So. But I would like to see that thing there with Hamza Shiraz. He's there as the top rated fighter in the WBO. So he might be calling for that fight to be next. So we'll see. All right. So that was like a co-feature bout. You only had like two bouts of that 10 p.m. portion there on that ESPN Plus card. But then you had on the earlier portion of the ESPN card, the top bout for that was Abdullah Mason versus Johan Vasquez. And going into the bout, you have, of course, Abdullah Mason, prospect, highly rated prospect, been very busy in 2024. This was his fifth bout in 2024, going up against Johan Vasquez, who had already had 31 professional fights on his record. And man, that was probably the livest first round I have seen like ever. Like being in attendance at a fight, that was like probably like the livest first round ever. Man, it was just crazy because Abdullah Mason, he was out there, he was trying to, get it in, scrapping and scrap with Johan Vasquez. And he got caught slipping on one of them, and he just, his hand touched the canvas or whatever it was, and I was like, whoa. And then he got up, he was like, he was calm, he was cool. He's like, all right, it's cool. He got me. Then he landed a big shot on Vasquez and floored Vasquez, and I was like, oh. And I thought at that particular point, I thought the fight was done. I thought it was done. Like Vasquez was looking like he was like laid out. I don't know how he got up, but he got up, and then he was able to knock down Abdullah Mason again, and I was like, whoa. Mason got up from that, and in the second round, he was like, man, nah, man, I'm gonna show that you don't have it. And he just went in there, and like how L Dub was saying here earlier in reference to comparing like Tim Bradley with Troy Isley. Yo, you just see the dog in Abdullah Mason. He was like, "No, man, I'm gonna break you down." Wow, 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 wow. And ended up just finishing him with a body shot, and had Vasquez not getting up, and man, that crowd in Norfolk was just going insane out there for Abdullah Mason. So now he's there at 16-0, and I'm like, man, I don't know how they're going to match him up after this, but he's going to be soon. He's going to be climbing up those rankings at 135. I don't know how long he's going to be there at 135. But while he's there, he's going to be climbing up the rankings at 135 because he's just there at 20 years old. He ain't even, he ain't really even fully developed yet. But like, let's see what he was able to do here this year against Ben Gurman, Ronald Ron, Luis LeBron over in Newark. I saw that performance there. Mike Ohan Jr. over in Canada, and then this here against Johan Vasquez. That is a crazy one. I don't see like anybody else that's considered like a prospect or around that level that had any type of year like how Abdullah Mason had. That was
So they're obviously pushing him, and rightfully so. When
mm-hmm.
he's displaying the skill set that he does, not only the skill set, but what I love about it is his command and control. The
Mm-hmm.
dude got his pace. He don't rush. He don't, even though people want to try to beat him up, stuff like that. He fights at his own pace. And I want to big up the boxing academic for saying he's never seen this guy fight before, which is crazy to me. Because we talked about doing Max on the show numerous times and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But even last night, I missed that first round. I'm gonna have to go back and catch that, right? But I'm glad I got tuned in when I did. Uh, Question for you. I'll get to it in a second. When do you think he'll come back again next year, right? And I want to give you also another comparison to a fight actually suffered their first loss because they kind of overmatched him too soon. It was
Mm-hmm.
like 2 years ago. Vito Melanicki fought this black kid that was just physically stronger and older, and they
Mm-hmm.
thought and Vito Melanicki was moving right along. I think it's wrong 8-0 at the time. I believe I may be wrong, but he saw that guy actually beat him, right? So of course we know that a fighter definitely has to go through adversity in order to get better. And so we see what they actually are made of. Can they make the adjustment? Can they listen to the corner, things like that? So and when Mason got knocked down, I was like, what the hell's going on? Like that's supposed to happen, but it's boxing,
Yeah.
and especially when you find someone like you said that has 31 fights, win, lose, or draw, you got 31 pro fights. So that's a ton of experience,
Yeah.
and just older and things like that, and just he's a wise and crafty veteran. So fighting a young pup. So when do you think he should come back? As far as next year, should you kind of just wait for the right opportunity, or keep him busy, or just wisely matchmake him against someone going forward? And I said, what do you think about the comparison about maybe fighting too much? Is he going too fast, or what do you think?
Nah, the thing about like that amount of activity, I have no issues with the amount of activity that Abdul Mason is having at this particular point. That's why I want to see there, from the fighters that are coming up here. He had like really busy 2022, really busy there at like 2023. So I want to see if they'll be able to keep that particular pace and keep him active like that in 2025. It's just that at this particular point, how are they going to be able to do that? Because some of these fighters that he's been able to face, they're kind of like around that level where it's like mid level, there in the lightweight division. So I have to see like how they kind of like match him up because at least, well, I would say like around the box record, whatever it is, they kind of like rate him at number 18 at lightweight overall, like top 20 lightweight. They're from BoxRec, so that's a really high rating for someone that's only been in the game for about a few years. Um, I wanted to see if they had maybe they had him in the WBC rankings, but I don't see him in there. I'm like, well, yeah. So that should tell you that he still has a little bit more to go to kind of like build up to that particular point of where he could kind of like get into that whole contendership type of thing. But yeah, I would have to see like how they're going to match him up here next. I mean, like maybe they have him fighting someone like a Francisco Fonseca level fighter, or I don't know, Juan Javier Carrasco or something like that from Argentina. I'm not sure, but they will plan to have him be very active to try to get him to have probably like up to like 4 fights there in 2025, and then after that, really have him going. Whether it's going to be like I said at 135 or maybe at 140, but he has that momentum where a lot of people will now be really looking forward to seeing him fight. So they're gonna match him up, fairly well. But outside of that, I think they're going to, go ahead and kind of get him to slowly progress because you've seen those things there where he got caught. Yes, boxing. So they're gonna say, hey, this is what you need to do in order to, prevent that from happening in your next bout or, when you're in close quarters and that type of thing. So I think what they're going to do here with this next couple of fights is try to see if he could develop that over the course of a couple of rounds or so before they say, hey, all right, turn it on and take the opponent out. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so other than the knockdowns, totally impressed with him, how he handled himself, and particularly, like I said, once again, we want to see how a fighter handles adversity. He got up, he wasn't rattled, didn't get scared, listened to his corner, and
Yep.
came back out and did what he's supposed to do. I was just
Exactly.
impressed. So yeah, definitely.
Exactly. So that's why he right now has like a lot of momentum going into 2025, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's next for him. Hopefully, we might see if we could secure an interview with him, before the end of the year, so that we could, talk about, that particular fight and what could be in store for him in 2025. Want to definitely get into also Kelvin Davis taking care of business against Yates Gabriel Solano, getting a unanimous decision win. Was able to score, knockdown in the 8th round. Almost had a clean sweep on the cards. I was able to, execute very well there against Solano. He's there at the welterweight division, and yeah, he reminds me of, he reminds me a little bit with the training and everything like that. Like, Matt's favorite trainer, Mark Breland.
Mm.
But he's had like a fairly good year in 2024. I had mentioned that. I mean, we saw him, out there at Plant City, there, when he had that fight where it was just an easy night. He had a second round knockout, so that was just go in there, take care of business, and that's it. And then you had this fight against Kevin Johnson in July that, a number of folks were saying like that was going to be a really tough fight, for him. And he was able to, get through that bout, have a majority decision win there, but, a lot of rounds were scored in his favor in that one. And then here against Solano, he was able to take care of business. So he's there, building up his record there in the welterweight division. And like I said, he's there at 6'1", 6'1", there in the welterweight division, man. It's hey, they're gonna match him up pretty well too. Like I said, Brad Goodman and Carl Moretti, be doing a good job with a lot of the young fighters that they have there on top rank and matching them well to have them be built up pretty well. Let's see, man. Beast Basic in the building, man. What's going on with you, man? Thanks for joining in here. That's what it is. Boston Source here, like with the podcast, longest running podcast in existence. I'm telling you that right now. It says Boots should move up. He eats too many threes, and he might need a better trainer than Bozy. Whoa. Mm. All right. We'll go back to this fight. Since we got Brother Terrell on here, also had the whole thing with the call in line, man. I'm telling you, man, y'all scared to call in, man. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But with that being said, all right, that Boots versus Shikazi fight. Okay. I said that, I graded the performance. I was really disappointed. Like I said that live, I was very frustrated and Boots said this because he was not doing what was available to him in order to properly take out Karen Chikazi. And a number of times it looked like he was admiring what he was doing there against Chikazi, and as far as like landing big shots and not just being consistent and following through and continuing to attack and just break down Karen Chikazi. And the other thing too was, I had said that there were a number of defensive deficiencies there that I did not necessarily think that would be out there from Boots Ennis. Brother Terrell, let's catch your thoughts on what you felt about what happened there with Boots Ennis and Karen Chikazi.
Yeah, I was definitely glad to be able to see this fight. Watch it on solid while I was watching the movie with my daughter. I got to see it, so glad about that. Uh, I mean, it's a couple things that went on in this fight. So we already know that he's basically forcing the fighting this guy again in order to keep that belt. We know that, right? But just when you look at the fight itself, for one, I'm glad that Chikani came to fight this time. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
run around the ring. He made himself available, and he actually got in there and stood and numerous times right in Boots' face, firing punches back right at him through his punches and just fighting, just making it a good fight and actually trying to win. And like I always say, sometimes we watch a boxing match. A guy doesn't have a clear strategy that you can pick up on how to win a fight. Sometimes guys are there for paychecks, but
Yeah.
in this case, when there's actual belt on the line, hey, that's worth fighting for, because even though you don't necessarily need the belt, but when you're an up and comer trying to establish yourself in the division, going after the belt is of course the best thing to do. So Karen came to fight, was good, right? So we know about everybody knows about the first fight between these two.
Mm-hmm.
Guy was just very, very reluctant to engage, things like that, and he was on his bike the entire fight last time. Totally different this time. He like I said came to fight,
Yep.
but so Boots, I mean, for one, everyone will agree, got hit cleanly, entirely too much, right? Now I'm not sure if he didn't respect his power, was worried about getting hurt, but sometimes we know the punch that can hurt you is the punch that you don't see. And there's numerous times that he actually fought through as Boots was throwing at the same time and got hit cleanly on the face, on the chin, things like that. Now,
Yeah.
granted, Boots never got hurt. He did get. I'm not gonna say rock. He got. I'm the. One time that Karen hit him, and like I said, he didn't hurt him, but it appeared that way. They just temporarily
Mm-hmm.
rocked and everything like that. Like I said, just got hit too cleanly, and even after the fight, boosted me. He said, "Man, I need to go to 154, and I need a big fight in order to properly motivate me." But we know it's in boxing, you cannot play with your food, right?
Right.
And kind of like you alluded to, you kind of got disappointed. Like, yeah, I got the knockdown, But I don't know. It's a lot to dissect with this because like Boots hit this guy cleanly numerous times. Numerous times. Yeah, he got to go. He got the one knockdown. We got that.
Yep.
But he didn't necessarily hurt him uh consistently to get him out of there, right? And I know a lot of people want him to get actually a straight up knockout. That didn't happen. The guy
Right.
came to fight, and the guy made himself available to be hit. And Boots hit him cleanly numerous times with power shots.
Yeah.
And these type of power shots that you expect, if there was someone else in there, they'd be going down. That didn't happen. So I was like, kind of like, where we at with this? You know, was he? I get he's probably bored with the fight. Didn't want to take the fight. Was reluctant to do that. And he likes to post on the post fight interview. I need to go to 154. I need a big name to really pull the best out of me. I get it, but I mean, sometimes you're only as good as your last fight, and then right now, this is what we have to judge him on right now. So
Hmm. Yeah, and I said, even with the grade that I had, it was because of those offensive and defensive, lapses or deficiencies and things like that. But I said before, when you're up there against a fighter that you're highly favored against, and a number of people expect you to get him out of there, you should be able to get him out of there. And one thing that I kind of like point to, especially after you're able to score a knockdown, is how are you able to finish the show? You know, what did you do in order to finish or try to finish the show? And in a number of occasions there, you've seen Boots basically get one dimensional, predictable on his attack and not vary his attack and also allow Chikazian to hold him. I get it. Like, okay, Chikazian is in trouble. He's holding and that type of stuff. At least in that fifth round to like get through the round. But there are other parts of that fight where I felt like Boots allowed Chikazian to hold him in order to like limit him from throwing punches. And you got to be able to do what's needed to be done in order to shift over, get out of the clinch, and then throw a free hand or something like that. You know what I mean? Or goes to the body. And I didn't necessarily see that. And I'm like, there was like one point in the fight live that was there, and Chikazian was like his back was to the ropes, so he's basically to the ropes. And I'm like saying, and I'm looking right there at that part, and like I see Boots standing right there, not doing anything, but just moving forward. And I'm like, the jab is right there in order for you to set up something, whether to the body, follow to the body, or going upstairs. And at that point, I was like going off. I'm like, yo, you can't have those instances where you're not throwing shots. If you're viewed as like one of the more talented fighters out there in the sport, you gotta be able to show that talent. You know, um, from an athleticism standpoint, some people, kind of like compare him to like a Roy Jones Jr. You know, but if you're not able to properly put your offense together and be able to vary that offense, like you gotta, that can't necessarily work against a higher caliber opponents. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, even once again, all the clean shots that Chicago landed on him. Is that a problem in his defense? Was he not motivated? Did he just think that he has no, this guy can't hurt me? I'll just take whatever he's gonna give. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine that going to put him against Lubin, just to throw a name out there, right? If Lubin hits him at 154, who's been a career lifetime fighter at 154 with 154 power, he hits moves with stuff like that.
Ooh,
It's gonna be a difference. It's gonna be a
that would
difference.
that would be an awesome fight. That would be an awesome fight. You're not like, especially now with Lubin. Lubin was looking to see if he could have a fight with Tim Zoo, and we all saw Tim Zoo just get busted up, man. He just got
He got
busted.
cooked. He got cooked.
Yeah. So now that whole plan is out the window. So hey, what about a possible fight with Boots Ennis at 154? I know I mentioned the whole thing with Versus Ortiz Jr. as a potential fight with Boots Ennis under Riyadh season, but hey, I have no issues with that being a potential fight. Shout out to B's Basic Bites following through. He says Karen is awkward, but Boots against someone with power, especially in the three, might finish him. I'm not optimistic. I think all fighters ducking drawn Boots in this might see him as food now. Like I've heard that a couple fighters that had been fairly reluctant to face Ron Ennis are now trying to reappear, so to speak. So we might have potential fights at 147 that could come up here in 2025. But we'll see. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
and with that, but what we got Barrios fight next week on the Tyson undercard.
yeah.
So that lines up with Boots on as far as schedule.
Hmm.
This just so you think they'd be out for next 3 months, something like that. But then again, Barrios is what PBC, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, he's with Heyman, kind of like TGB and all that type of stuff, but was able to go over here and be on Netflix on this Tyson versus Jake Paul in the car. So we're gonna see him in action there on Friday against Abel Ramos. You know,
Yeah, even that. Who's paying for that as far as the Barrios fight?
I
It's,
guess
did,
Netflix
did,
is covering the cost for all of that, or if it's handled by the amount of ticket sales that'll be there for AT&T Stadium. It's usually that's how that works, but that's how that works for like pay-per-view events. But here with Netflix, it's just like Netflix is footing the bill for it all, so all the people on Netflix are able to watch it. So I guess that's sponsors or whatever type of thing that they're gonna have here for this. That's gonna be interesting.
because based on what I'm getting at, did PBC like go ahead, go over there, make your money. You good? Don't worry about it. You still with us, but go make your
Mm-hmm.
money, like something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I guess that's how they routed it there, man. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Thing there for Mario Barrios against Evo Ramos. On that card there in Netflix. So you got that going on, man. I'll probably break that down there on the midweek report on Wednesday coming up. We had like a number of like I said, a number of fights here that were on that Newark card. You had Robert Merriweather III getting a decision victory over Eric Howard, and you had Keon Davis there in his pro debut win against Jalen Moore, and he's like another fighter that kind of like has that type of frame there, so to speak, um, his brother, oldest brother Kelvin Davis, there, but he's actually taller. He's at 6'3" there, man. So he's like there around my he's there around my height, man. They're around that 147, 154 type range. So that's something there to have. Those three brothers. They're all very talented. Decorated amateurs. Now doing their thing in the pros, man. It's crazy. So that's the card there that happened in Norfolk. Like I said, I mean, I was able to make the drive down to Norfolk on Friday, made sure that I had beat most of the traffic that was going southbound. Hey, if you're over in the DMV area, you go on 95, or like 395 south, and then it goes to the 95. Once you just start out there, when it gets to 95, if you're not down there by a certain time,
Oh yeah,
on the
definitely.
weekdays,
Yep,
it's
it's
a
a
wrap.
wrap.
It's a wrap. So luckily, I was able to like get beat that traffic in time, and by the time I had got to where I got to there in Norfolk, I was able to be there for like the start of the card and all that type of stuff, which is interesting because they had Rais Alim get back in the ring, and that was the very first fight on the card, a 10-round bout First fight on the card on the thing for Top Rank was crazy. But he's back in the mix. There he had a win over Derlin Geraldo by unanimous decision. There that was at 126. He was a fighter that had been competed at 122, and had that bout against Sam Goodman. So now I guess he's gonna be campaigning at 126. Because he was definitely up there at like waiting at like 127 for this bout against Geraldo. So I guess he's gonna be competing at featherweight now. So I'd be interested to see how they match Ray Salim up here at 126, unless maybe nah, they wouldn't do that, would they? At 126, the debut at 126 for Naira Inoue against Rais Salim. I don't know. But that's for hold a different thing there, man. What is it like? Yeah, 2 hours in here for this particular episode, man. Like I said, I mean that was like a lot, that was going down here for this weekend. I know there was like a number of local cards that were going on, at least in this area. I got to catch up with a few folks there that were involved in that card. And chop it up with them. So I gotta see like how that went down. Because in some cases, like if you're not actually there at the local cards, you don't necessarily get the updated information on that. So that's what they had going on. But that's pretty much what I got here for this particular episode. Big thanks for everyone that has been able to join in live. You can go ahead and, like I said, share the stream here, whether it's on YouTube, Rumble, or whatever it is. For those that, are not able to listen to it through these channels, we'll be able to have it provided in audio form here pretty soon. Like I said, man, sometimes try to get it to audio form via YouTube be tripping. But I'll figure out a way to get it going here for y'all, right? But that's pretty much it on my side. Like I said, big thanks for everyone participating in the live chat. Big thanks for Brother Terrell for joining in here live. But for those listening live, man, I'm telling y'all be getting me, man. I mean, I don't see anything where y'all say that there's an issue or problem here with the phone number. But I'm telling you, man, y'all gonna be able to chime in or whatnot. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have some other topics that'll have y'all going or whatnot, and we'll get things cracking as far as like getting the phone lines going too with that. All right. But until that goes down here, that is this particular version of the Boxing Source podcast. And I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.
Yeah.